Hello, welcome to lesson 2. In this lesson, I shall be setting up the solution for the project portfolio management software, and I will begin by implementing the domain layer. So I'm going to start by searching for Visual Studio. Then I'll click on it. I'm going to click on Create a New Project. I'm going to search for, under Templates, I'm going to search for Blank Solution. Then I'll click Next. So I'm going to call the solution Project Portfolio. Then I'm going to choose where I'm going to save the project. I'll go to local disk C. I'm going to select projects folder, and I have a folder called Project Portfolio Management already created. So I'm going to select that folder. Then I'm going to click Create. So the solution has been created. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll click on View. I'll select Solution Explorer. Then in Solution Explorer, I'm going to right click on the solution. I'm going to say Add New Solution Folder. I'm going to rename it 01 Core. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on the solution folder 01 Core. I'm going to say Add New Project. Then I'm going to search for class library. These are the different class libraries. So I'm going to select class library, a project for creating a class library that targets .NET or .NET Standard C#. Then I'll click Next. I'm going to type in the name of the project, which is project portfolio.domain. I'll click Next. Then here I'm going to select .NET 9.0. Then I'll click Create. Then I'm going to go to Solution Explorer. I'll right click on class1.cs and I'll delete it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the project. I'm going to say Add New Folder. So I'm going to call this folder Common. Now I'm going to right click on Common Folder. I'm going to say Add Class. The name of this class is going to be BaseEntity.cs. I'm going to go to Common Folder again. I'm going to add another class. I'm going to call it aggregateroot.cs. I'm going to the Common Folder again. I'm going to add another class. The name of the class will be valueobject.cs. So I'm going to Solution Explorer. I'll right click on the domain project again. I'm going to add a new folder. I'll call it enums. I will right click on the enums folder. I'm going to add a new class. I'll call it project status.cs. I'll right click on enums folder again. I'm going to add another class, priority.cs. Then I go to enums folder again. I'm going to add another class, project health.cs. So now I'll right click on our domain project again. I'm going to add another folder. This time I'm going to call this folder entities. Then I'm going to go to Solution Explorer again. I'll right click on entities folder. I'm going to add a class. I'm going to call the class project.cs. So let's go to Solution Explorer. Under Common Folder, let's double click on the base entity. Because of time, I'm just going to paste, but I'm going to explain already comments there to explain what is being done. Well, at the top, I'm importing the project system namespace. So we have the base entity class, which is an abstract class, an abstract base class for domain entities, providing common properties and behavior. So inside this class, we have defined the following properties: ID, which is the primary key, created that property, timestamp for when the entity was created, updated at property, timestamp for when the entity was last updated, created by username of the user who created the entity, updated by username or identifier of the user who last updated the entity, and then we have the constructor for the base entity class, which accepts no parameter. So it's created with a new ID and the time it was created. So we have the second constructor that accepts a specific ID. Then we have method called setUpdated to update the updated at and updated by properties. Then we override for equality comparison based on ID and type. Sorry. Then we override for generating hash code based on ID. So now let's go to Solution Explorer. Let's double click on aggregate boot class. So we have aggregate root, which is an abstract base class representing an aggregate root in domain-driven design. It inherits from base entity and has support for domain events. So we have underscore domain events, which is backing field for domain events internally. And then we have domain events, which exposes domain events as a read-only list. So the not mapped attribute ensures this property is not persisted to the database. And then we have the default constructor for the aggregate root class. And then we have the constructor that accepts a specific ID. And then we have a method which allows us to add a domain event. And then we have another method which allows us to clear all stored domain events. Now I'm going to go to Solution Explorer. I'm going to double click on Value Object. I'm going to paste it. Sorry, I've not put the comments. Let me put the comments and come back. Control Z. Control Z. Okay, let me put the comments and come back. Okay. So we have the value object, which is an abstract base class for value objects in the domain-driven design. Value objects are compared based on their properties, not identity. Then inside this class, we have equal operator, which is an helper method to check equality between two value objects using the equal operator logic. So we have the XOR check. If only one is null, return false. If both are null, return true. Otherwise, use .equals method. Helper method to check inequality using the not equal operator logic. Then we have get equality component method, which must be implemented by side classes to specify which properties are used for equality. Then we have equals method, which is overriding standard equals method to compare value objects based on components. So it returns false if null or types don't match. Then it cast and compare equality components. Then we have the method that overrides get hash code. So now let's go to the enums folder. Let's implement the project status enum. So we have this project status enum, which is an enum representing the various statuses a project can have in its life cycle. So we have the fact that a project can be in the planning stage, active stage, on hold stage, completed stage, or cancelled stage. So let's go back to Solution Explorer. Let's open priority.cs. Priority is actually an enum representing the priority levels for task, issues, or projects. So there are 4 priority levels. They could either be low, medium, high, or critical. Now let's implement project health in Enum. So project health in Enum is actually an Enum representing the overall health or risk level of a project. And and a project can either have an health status of green, which means it's on track with no major issues. It might have Enum level of it might have a value of yellow, which means it is experiencing some issues that may affect progress. They might have a value of red, which means the project has got critical problems that need immediate resolution. So now let's go to project under entities folder and implement it. Because this is a big class, I'm going to just uh, scroll down to show you the comments. So we have some to do. So at this point, anything that is to do means it is not yet implemented. So now in Solution Explorer, under Common folder, I'm going to add another class. Going to call it BaseDomainEvent. This is the implementation. Now, I'm going to right click on the domain project. I'm going to add another folder. I'm going to call it events. Then I'm going to right click on events folder. I'm going to add a new class. I'm going to call it project created event. Now this is the implementation of it. So this project created event class is a child class of BaseDomainEvent class. So these are some of the stuff.
Oh.
So I'm going to add a new class, project started event class. And this is my implementation for project started event class. So now I right click under events folder again. I'm going to add another class. I'm going to call it project completed event. Now click add. Now this is my implementation for it. So now under events, I'm going to create another class. Call it project cancelled event. Now this is my implementation for project cancelled event. So now I'm going to add a new class, project put on hold event. Now this is my implementation for project put on hold event. So now we are going to add another class to the event folder, project resumed event. Now here is my implementation for project resumed event class. I'm going to add another class to the events folder. Project health change event. This is my implementation for project health change event class. I'm adding yet another event class. So we have team member added event class. Now, this is my implementation for team member added event class. So now, let's add a new class to the event. Team member removed event class. So this is my implementation for team member removed event class. So let's go to the project class. This is the project class. There were some to-dos there before. So the first to-do here is this to-do. Add domain event, add project created. So under it, sorry, edit, undo, edit, undo, Control Z. So This is the to do. So there I've added the project created event. The next to do is to add project put on hold event. So 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 now let's search for any to do. I just say to do. Okay, not implemented. It's not a domain event project started. So let's add that. Let's find again to do. Okay, So let's end over to the entities folder. Add class team member.cs. So here is my implementation for team member class. All done. So here is my implementation for team member class. So I'm going to create another class in entities folder. I'll call it work item. And this is my implementation for work item class. Oh, yes. Okay, so we have work item class. And then there is a red flag here. And that's because I've not implemented this type called work item status. So I'm going to Solution Explorer under the enums folder. I'm going to add a new class called work item status. This is my implementation for work item status. So it could be a new work item, a ready work item, could be an in progress work item, a blocked work item, a completed work item, or a cancelled work item. So I'm back to work item.cs. There are no errors any longer. So now under entities, I'm going to add another class. And this is going to be the Milestone class. So now this is my implementation. For work item class. Sorry, milestone item class. This is my implementation for my milestone item class. So there is an error here. This type, milestone status, is not yet implemented. So I need to implement this in a milestone status. So I'll go to Solution Explorer. Under enums, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say add class. I'm going to say milestone status. Then I'll click add. Now this is my implementation for milestone status. So it's either it's a planned milestone, in progress milestone, approved, completed, or missed milestone. So let me go back to milestone class and complete showing you all the remaining part of the code. Alright, so that's the end of this video. You can access the code on GitHub. Thank you for watching.